I got a quick question for you. I noticed you broke that prop.
Yeah.
It probably has 1 million miles on this thing. I get this question a lot. There's a lot of new props that are out there. DJI has a new set of props that are out there. Do you see a difference? Is it worth the upgrade? What's your personal opinion?
Well, my personal opinion is that you do feel a difference between different materials and different shapes of props. So we've gone through a variety of different props, from wooden props to carbon fiber to the 3-blade props, and they all add some certain degree of variation to the performance of your machine. Now, of course, the ones that we sell, they are optimized for these motors and give you probably some of the best lift considering what you have to work with. But if you put in, for example, put on some carbon fiber props, you see different behavior. It may be more responsive.
Too sharp sometimes, maybe for a new flyer.
Exactly. Plus, then you have the other thing. I would rather fly these and have an issue than have a bad landing with carbon fiber props. Not only because of the money aspect, but you can have a sharp pull or maybe a raw pepper or something fly through the air. So it really is preference. In my opinion, these are perfect.
Right, they work. They work great. And the one thing that I was going to ask is something that I've noticed, especially when you're trying to pan and you're trying to move and you're trying to do it very fluidly. If you have a carbon fiber prop, they seem to be very sharp.
Yeah.
And every movement is not as fluid.
Exactly.
Have you noticed? I mean, you're the expert on this, so.
Definitely, you have a very different flight characteristic, and it's like you said, it's much more responsive and sharper, and sometimes takes little input. You can also then adjust the gains to kind of compensate for it, and there is always a perfect setting for any kind of setup you have, and it really depends on what you enjoy most. For example, my gimbal tilt speed, I like to have it at 30%. I like to have a smooth gimbal tilt versus the 100% where it's pretty fast and abrupt.
Right, an eye blink.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's personal preference. My suggestion is, first of all, go into the app and play with the various functions. For example, you can still have plus 30 degrees on the gimbal on the P3. It's just not enabled in the app. You can go into the tilt function, into the gimbal function, and go into the tilt and enable the plus 30. And so you have 120 degrees to work with. And yeah, when you go all the way up, you see the props. But if you like to do a vertical panorama and you want like the nice clouds in the sky and also the ground, best way, and in Photoshop, you just take out the
props. Sure, and it's all about editing.
Exactly.
It's all about the editing.
But that plus 30%, in my opinion, one of the best features.
Now, how did you, if people that are starting to just use this platform and they really want to get some of these spectacular images that you have taken? I mean, they're things that take, I'm sure, years to perfect. How did you get started in that?
A lot of people, they have already an eye for photography, and it's no different when you're in the air. It's just a different perspective. So there are two different approaches. If you fly in an area like we are here, where it's like an open area, you can take either a panorama that shows the vastness of this area, and that can be beautiful already. Or then you put something in the foreground. So you may come down a little lower and you may take one of the barns as your main subject and you do a panorama around the barn.
That's excellent.
And so now you're getting some depth in it as well. That's number one. I used to work on a NASA space mission, and our mission was observing the sun. We built a satellite that observes the sun. So I love using the sun in my shots. So I would then probably align the sun with a building so that I'm shooting against the building, but the sun is behind it. And if I do an HDR, high dynamic range, I do a bracket of either 5 or 3 images that you can select in your app. Excellent. And then in Photoshop, you merge them together as an HDR.
And that's new.
And that's fairly new. And then you have the foreground as well as the background really nicely done. So all it really takes is for you to go out, have fun, practice, do different things, and see what you like. Because ultimately, it's not about how many likes you get on Facebook or on Instagram. Right. If you enjoy the picture that you took, that's all that matters.
That's right. That's excellent advice. And that HDR feature, isn't that something new that just came out with this latest firmware update?
It has been in it for some time. So what you do is,
playing with it.
here's the trick. So when you look at the app, on the right side you have your shutter button.
Right.
On the app itself. Hold it down for a couple seconds and a wheel pops up. And under that wheel you will see the last function, I believe it is, it's bracket shots, 3 or 5 shots. And so it takes 3 or 5 images with a different exposure. And so then you can
Excellent.
do the HDR.
Those of you that are out there just getting this info new, like I am, we've got to go try this because that is going to be a game changer for a lot of you that are trying to get that perfect shot.
So I want to see HDR images. Go
Yes,
do them.
that's right. And subscribe to YouTube Drone Doctor. Thanks, guys.